taxing what you spend. Yeah, this just gets me too worked up, man. It's just we need to tax what people spend. That's just the bottom line in my mind versus what they earn. I think, Michael, that would solve. You're familiar with the fair tax, I'm sure. That would solve a whole bunch of stuff. It would, regardless of what you make, regardless of whether you're an illegal alien, regardless if you're a tourist visiting from Canada or Timbuktu, you come to the U.S., you buy stuff, you're going to pay tax to the coffer. I think. What do you think about that? I mean, the whole kind of fair tax, consumption tax thing.
You know what? I love it. I used to be a big flat tax guy. I used to be everybody sends in a sawbuck for every 100 they make on their first $100. That there should be no exemptions, no progressiveness to the income tax, no cutoffs, no deductions, no nothing. Just simple. Every dollar that comes in, you owe a dime on it. Period. However, that still requires some sort of revenue service to analyze it and what's income and what's not income and all of that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Whereas the sales tax, you could eliminate the IRS tomorrow, right? I mean, I'm not sure what's the retail sales across the country, figure out what the revenues that the federal government needs, divide by that, and boom. All of a sudden, everything that you buy costs, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12% more. And people can visit the Fair Tax website. It's been a while since I've been there, but it's pretty well thought out. Now, again, lots of stuff looks good on paper, to be fair, and until it's put into effect. But how's it all working out now? But it does everything from, it does all the calculation. These guys, there's some pretty smart guys, behind this stuff. And I don't mean on the political side that have run the numbers and figured stuff out. But it also, there are credits, if you will, or exemptions or thresholds as it relates to income brackets in terms of, arguably someone who spends half of their monthly budget at the grocery store. That's not fair. So there are thresholds. But part of what's ingenious about it. You look at, if you will, the rich paying their fair share, as the Democrats howl. If a guy's buying $100,000 BMW versus a $10,000 used car because that's all he can afford, the dude buying the BMW is going to pay a bunch. So there's a lot about that thing, man, that I like. Oh, I absolutely love it. Now, back to this article, by the way, Mike. Yeah. The opposite side of the question, live in Washington, shop in Oregon, live in Nevada, shop in Oregon, live in Wyoming or South Dakota, shop in Montana. The other side of the question that's begged, obviously, is where is the worst place to live with regard to income tax and sales tax? Don't look at the thing, but if you were to guess, what is the state that takes the biggest bite out of both?
I mean, off the top of my head, and again, this is because you guys are stereotyped sometimes for things of which you're not guilty, but I would guess California.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, you think about New Jersey, you think about Illinois, you think about Michigan, you think about New York. You think that it would be California that would have the highest income and sales tax rates?
Well,
honestly?
I mean, because this map is in front of me. You're looking at New York income tax, 8.82%. Where's Jersey? Jersey.
Well, let me just stop you right there, Mike. You're absolutely correct.
Okay.
California's by far.
By far, it has to be 13.3% state income tax. By the way, let me just say real quick, and this is real quick. I'm looking at Indiana. I knew what it was before I looked. It's 3.4%, and dude, I don't think that has changed. In fact, I know it hasn't changed for at least a couple of decades.
The income tax rate?
Yeah, 3.4%. Been like that forever.
Okay, so Indiana, according to the graph color, is on the very low side of income tax. And number 21, so it's in the top half of sales tax. And again, for our conversation about the fair tax earlier, that's kind of as it should be.
Right. This is cool that you did both of these. And again, suggesting that you should have also do one on this. I had not scrolled down the page, but dude, you may be sub-genius. I'm not sure that you're full-blown genius as you claim on a fairly regular basis, but this is pretty smartly done, my friend.
Well, it's one of those kinds of things that I can put the claim out there, and then it's up to somebody else to demonstrate it's factually untrue.
Well, not only, I mean, setting aside factually untrue, but someone who is, how do we say this?
Which is very easily done, setting it aside.
Listen, anyone that would read this, that would look at this post, who is, how should we say this, less brilliant than you, and there might be a little bit of daylight in there. Of course, they're going to think you're genius because they couldn't do this. They have no idea how to put this together. So yeah.
And obviously, all I did was just take the work of actual true geniuses and cut and paste it on a WordPress site.
Yeah, but I mean, to an extent, we all, those of us who are fairly good at what we do that. But again, to pick, to pick the topic and to include both, and then do the analysis. You have to listen. You're not the dullest crayon in the box. Maybe we should leave it that way.
That's the lowest of possible bars. We're just about out of time, but we did get a question from Travis that we could maybe start out the next hour with. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering, Mike. By the way, folks, if you want to call in for the next half hour, it's 412-567-6879. Mike, I'm actually getting concerned about Jessica.
I am too. I'm also getting concerned because my computer just locked up. We might make the assumption that we have been somehow in an odd way disconnected from the mothership. So we may...
the problem is, though, man, is that folks are telling me via Twitter that they're listening to us and they're interacting with us.
No, I understand that part, but I'm just talking...
Our mothership.
Yeah, oh, yes. So... all I'm saying is, it's probably a fair assumption that we will continue through the break.
Right. Okay, so here's why don't we do this? I'm concerned about you trying to reboot your computer because I may not be able to reconnect with you.
I don't need to reboot. It's fine.
Okay. Why don't you call Jessica? And can you, or you know what? Why don't I put it on speakerphone so we can all enjoy this together? Because our hour is now up.
Yeah, I'm going to call her on my cell.
Yeah, I'm going to call her on the cell, but I'm going to put it on speakerphone to make it part of the broadcast. So I'm down now.
Let's not do that. Let me just ring her up and do a bit of interpretive dance. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know if we want to have dead silent air.
Well, no, we're not going to. Well, okay, but so in other words, you're not going to be able to hear the well, yeah, you'll be wearing your ballet slippers, so that there would be.
Well, typically my interpretive dance stuff is it's usually medieval chanting that I'm doing it to, or New Age chanting, one of the two. You know what I'm going to do?
You could kind of do like a mashup of that.
Let me, while you're calling her, let me just read a couple of the comments from Stein.
And real quick, and then I'll be right back. If you run out of time,
Stein said.
I'll be back. Go ahead.
All right. Listen to this. 2 years ago, folks. So I'm just going to read right from Stein, and this is an article titled "I'd rather die standing than live on my knees." Okay? Unlike so many of the supposedly edgy satirists on this side of the Atlantic congratulating themselves on their transgressive bravery at one backslapping awards ceremony after another, the editors, writers, and cartoonists of Charlie Hebdo were genuinely brave and paid for it with their lives. I did not know at the time I spoke to John on the radio yesterday that among the dead was Charb Charbonnier, the editor of Charlie Hebdo and a great cartoonist in the French style. 2 years ago, he said, "It may seem pompous, but I'd rather die standing than live on my knees." Well, he did. He was an heroic figure and he paid for it with his life. But he wasn't being the least bit pompous, merely stating what ought to be far more obvious to far more people. In contrast to the bravery of Charlie Hebdo, at my old London home, the Daily Telegraph, some gutless pansies decided that their reporting on the story could only be accompanied by carefully blurred and pixelated images of the late cartoonist's work in order to avoid giving offense. Totally nuts. Then Stein quotes from his book After America. In the Middle East, Islam has always been beyond criticism. It was only natural that as their numbers grew in Europe, North America, and Australia, observant Muslims would seek the same protections as in their new lands. But they could have not foreseen how eager Western leaders would be to serve as their enablers. As the more cynical Islamic imperialists occasionally reflected, how quickly the supposed defenders of liberal pluralist Western values came to sound as if they were competing to be Islam's lead prison bitch. Among them is the so-called leader of the free world who stood up before the United Nations and in service of his administration's lies over Benghazi told the assembled leaders, "The future must not belong to those who slander the Prophet of Islam." Mission accomplished. Indeed, not only does the future not belong to those that slander the Prophet of Islam. Now, this is me. This is no longer Stein. Not only does the future not belong to those that slander the Prophet of Islam, it turns out, for some of them anyway, there's no future for them at all. Disgusting. All right, let's check and see here if... hey, Miller, are you online still?
I am.
Did you get her?
No, left a voicemail. Something is remiss. I mean, I'm kind of worrying about her just a tad. So we'll figure out what happened. If not before the end of the show, sometime between now and tomorrow.
Hopefully, yeah. Oh, you know what? I just got a tweet. Hold on a second. I don't know. Hey, folks, if you're listening and this is still live, please tweet me at The Right Mics or PM me on Facebook, because I do want to know if this thing is still going, because there's actually no way there's no way for us to tell.
Welcome to live TV. I'm kidding, radio. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going out, but yeah, let us know. Anyone of my pals as well. You can do that on Facebook, being that I'm not the, well, I just don't have my Twitter account open.
All right, man, well, let's move on. Welcome back to the show.
You know, who knows? They could have gone away, hit the restroom, picked up a sandwich or whatever, and they might never know. So, yes, welcome back, or thanks for hanging with us on a peculiar day on the Right Mics. You can ring us up, 412-567-6879. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea right now. But
you know what? I'm not sure that'll work, dude.
Oh, no. That's right. That won't work. See, we're so programmed.
What they could do is they could call me at 949-413-2371 or your cell phone, Mike.
They could do that as well, yeah.
You do have a cell phone. I just wasn't aware of whether or not you had one.
I do. 765-602-2736 for my pals. Hey, speaking of a pal, I want to kind of go in a different direction here. Justin Charters, we talked about this yesterday, man. Did you see that post that he put up about the 15 clever excuses why Obama? I mean, let's lighten this up a little bit. We're concerned about what may be going on. But I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
You know what? I saw it, but I didn't read it. So, yeah, walk us through it. That's interesting to me.
Can you get it up? I don't want to hear any jokes, by the way.
By the way, Jen Van Laar just texted us about a hilariously inappropriate sex ed video. Speaking of that, literally that just went up 1 second ago, and she just tweeted it to me.
I love